All right, what's up, everybody? I'm kind of waiting for the stream to get going here, but I think we're live and ready to go. We get some people in the chat here that can let me know if you can hear me, see me clearly. That would definitely help here. But just got done with another busy day at the Reese Senior Bowl, day 2 of practices. Long days, man, long days, and the sun was beating down pretty hard, but overall, I would say a lot more energy in practice today in terms of the American team, national team, what they brought on the football field. Always great to see, and I think that helps show these prospects what they're capable of doing, what they're really capable of doing, and showcasing their skills. But Kurt, I see that you said good, so hopefully the audio is working, video's working. I might be a little delayed because I'm live streaming. And if you saw yesterday, it took forever to upload my first video. So I figured like let's do this live. It's already uploading. It'll be already be out there for people to watch. So hopefully this all works out. So if you're, not too busy with your today's Wednesday, right? Like I'm almost losing track of time how long these days are. Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Appreciate you for hanging out with me. And we'll just kind of get going, share some of my thoughts, standouts from the day. Also, like I was on Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham watch for the entire practice. Like where are they at? Where are they going? Who are they talking to? I have some notes that I can share with you guys. But before we really get into this video, make sure if you haven't already to one, just subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nicholas Moreano. I've been seeing a lot of love and support from everybody who's already, subscribed, but love seeing the community just grow. So keep doing that. Tell people, tell other Bears fans that need somebody else that they can watch and see break down these Senior Bowl practices. I got you guys. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as always, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Nicholas Moreano, and then Substack. If you're following me on there or subscribed on there, I really appreciate it. But yesterday I put out an article for the paid subscribers, just some insight I learned on Declan Doyle, Dennis Allen, from some of the players or coaches on the Senior Bowl rosters that have overlapped with the two Bears coordinators. So you can get that if you're a paid subscriber. Helps support me and this trip that I'm on, and you just get exclusive content that you're not getting anywhere else. So let's get that out of the way, but let's kind of get into this practice today. And, the first thing I wanted to see right when I got to the first practice of the day is just see, well, one, or Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham here, or any Bears coaches for the matter of fact, because I didn't see any on the sidelines or in the stands on day one. And that doesn't mean that they weren't in Mobile, Alabama. I just didn't see them. But they were definitely there. And for a majority of the practice, you guys, Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, fixated and looking at some of the offensive and defensive line, just really were in the end zone where they'll kind of have position groups at different portions of the field throughout the one field at Hancock Windy Stadium. And I think it was Ian Cunningham, he stayed by the offensive lineman. They just started stretching, but he was just over there. Talking with Ryan for a little bit. And then Ryan eventually made his way about 20 minutes later, he made his way to kind of watch some of the running backs and just kind of seeing getting an up close look at some of the guys that were there. So seeing what they're about. But for a majority of this practice, like the assistant GM and general manager of the Bears were really looking at some of the trenches players. Now I'll get into some of the guys that maybe they could be looking at that could make sense for the team at this point and what they need. But I think that's a focus that makes a lot of sense for this Bears team, given that they might need 3 new interior offensive linemen. You can always use another edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat. So just guys that they can potentially go in and get. Let's see. We also, I do have a note here. I'm just scrolling through my notes as I kind of go through practice. Cunningham was watching the DBs with somebody. There's a lot. So that's the thing. Like you'll see all these different coaches and scouts and whatever it may be, just NFL personnel overlapping and connecting with each other. And I mean, Cunningham was, I put watching the DBs with somebody for a while. And, I try to use my Zoom on my phone to see exactly what team it is and things like that. essentially being a creep, being intrusive, like seeing exactly who the heck these people are. But hard to tell. But he was watching a little bit of the DBs for a little bit. So for the national team roster, which is the first practice, really wanted to hone in on again Gray Zabel, who was a standout in the first Senior Bowl practice in North Dakota State offensive lineman. Somebody that I think is just raising his stock and also putting his tape out there and just getting the attention of NFL teams. Like a guy that has played all three interior offensive line positions while he's been down here in Mobile, Alabama. Has he been beaten on reps? Of course, it's going to happen with every single player, but he's been pretty consistent down there. Just at whatever position is it in, left guard, center, right guard. So it's been good to see him just play into different spots because look, the Bears could use him at either one of those three positions right now at left guard, center, or right guard. So just creating position flexibility for himself. And like I said, just raising his stock a little bit. Another guy, though, that I really liked, and I didn't really notice him on day one, and that's why I like seeing the practices, just day one to day two to day three. Darius Alexander from Toledo, 6'4", 310 pounds, big human being. He was just really consistent in the one-on-ones, and all the coaches, scouts, GMs, even they kind of it's almost like a mosh pit where they kind of surround the offensive and defensive linemen and are just watching these reps up close and personal. Well, you saw Darius Alexander doing some really good things. I have in my notes showing some power, using the rip move, just disruptive was how I wanted to describe him. So he made a name for himself and somebody that caught my attention on day two that didn't really catch my attention on day one. And then I'm going to try not to butcher this guy's name, but UCLA edge rusher Ola Femi Oladejo, 6'3", 250 pounds. When I think about him, does he quite fit what Dennis Allen would want to do in a 4-3 defensive end? Body type's probably not there. But two really impressive reps I have down in the one-on-one spin move, even had which I thought was the most impressive thing that he did, being at his size. He was in coverage on a running back, and for the most part, but was in coverage. A little debatable. Could a flag been thrown? Maybe, but no flag was thrown on the play. So he goes and has these two really good back-to-back one-on-one reps and then goes in coverage on a running back and is able to stay with him stride for stride and not allow the pass to be completed. So I thought that was also a good thing from Oladejo, UCLA edge rusher. Probably not a guy that Bears really look into, but could be somebody that, somebody else will look at. And, Senior Bowls where, he started doing some good things. One of the other guys that I do want to mention here, Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M. That is a defensive end to the T in terms of body type, what he looks like. I'm going to quickly look up exactly his measurements because this is a guy that played with a lot of energy, kind of has a loud personality, I would say. Somebody that he's going to let the offensive lineman know when he wins a rep, and he's going to be loud and proud about it. But Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, 6'6", 290. So that would fit the bill of what the Bears would kind of be looking at body type wise from their defensive end. But yeah, so another guy that stood out to me. And then, just as I'm kind of looking through my notes here, there's obviously more than just those guys that I mentioned. But you have, John Janor, Minnesota, Minnesota, nice rush. Peebles. Anise Peebles from, let me see if I can find the roster real quick. He was a guy that actually made some good plays in day one. And now just trying to find him on the roster here to make sure I get the correct school and everything. He was also a guy that I noticed definitely. That's why I'm looking at the American team roster when I should be looking at the national team roster. Aeneas Peebles, apologize. Virginia Tech, I believe it's number 16. Yeah. Had some pretty good rushes in the one-on-one. Somebody that on the interior too. That's where you're going to find him, but thought he did some good things there. I also have Caleb Rogers. Caleb Rogers, Texas Tech, offensive lineman, number 76, uses his hands well. Uses his hands well. Walls off the defender. Try saying that 5 times fast. He was somebody that also made my list. Anthony Belton, the right tackle. Win in the one-on-one rep. Good contact balance, good anchor. Look at me being a scout and putting all these things for you guys. But I liked what I saw. And then and I don't know how I forgot about this. I didn't forget about it, but I wanted to get to it as I'm scrolling through my notes. Mike Green, the Marshall edge rusher, and I want to get his measurements too, just to see exactly where he would fall. But Mike Green had the most dominant pass rush rep I think I've ever seen in person. And I was there clearly filming it. And I was trying to do that so that I can go back and watch these plays and make sure I got everything down. But Mike Green, let me see, he literally bulldozed and took. Where's the Oregon off? Josh Connerly Jr., Oregon offensive lineman, right tackle, went right through him, bull rush on the ground, Connerly, and got up, was obviously really excited about the rep, but it was violent, it was mean, it was disruptive, and it got everybody in the stands riled up as you're seeing Mike Green just go through another human being. 6'4", 248, most likely one of those outside linebackers, stand-up type of guys, but man, that was one of those reps that you will not forget. But I will say this, as I was continuing, like Mike Green then automatically gets on your radar. You're wanting to see what is he going to do next. Some of the other reps, he tries to do a bunch of different pass rush moves. He tried a spin move, tried an inside rip move. The left tackles on those specific reps were able to stop him. I think I have exactly who stopped Green on one of those reps as I'm kind of scrolling down here. Maybe I don't have it, but again, oh, there you go. Jalen Travis from Iowa State stops Mike Green on a spin move. So he's at least trying different things. But I mean, when you do that specific type of play where you go through another human being, and look, the Oregon left tackle or right tackle Josh Connerly, Connerly. I don't know why I'm saying that. Josh Connerly from Oregon. When you do that to a guy that, I don't know, you look at certain draft projections as a day 2 pick, I think that gets you noticed. And I actually asked, I got a chance to talk to Gray Zabel from North Dakota State and just ask him, who has been some of the guys that have stood out to you on the defense. He did mention Mike Green and specifically was talking about that play, but he also said I believe it was the Boston College kid, Donovan Iziroku. I butchered that. I know. I mean, this is the first time I'm actually saying that name, but he also said that he was a guy that stood out to him as well. So just to let you know exactly like who these offensive linemen are looking at and how are they weighing that competition and seeing like what stands out to them. I think that's always valuable information to ask guys like Zabel, especially because he's been doing some really good things at the Senior Bowl. You know what? I think this is a good time, about 13 minutes in, wherever it is, to kind of like, if you're watching the stream, and hopefully I'm pointing to this, right? You see that icon in would be my top left corner, Windy City Sports Cars. I wouldn't be on this trip in Mobile, Alabama, getting you all this coverage and talking to players, talking to coaches without Windy City Sport Cards. And look, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports, whether you are a diehard fan of the Bulls, Bears, White Sox, or Blackhawks. And don't forget about the Cubs. They've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to the Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. Visit their online store to find exactly what you're looking for to complete your collection or discover a new favorite. So go check out Windy City Sports Cards. You also got to check out Elite Icons, which provides quality and affordable jersey framing for thousands of customers every year. You can trust their products and services to be genuine and of the highest quality, backed by their extensive industry expertise. They also offer custom jersey framing. That's really cool. And at the most competitive prices in the nation. Additionally, they host several public and private signings each year featuring your favorite players. Regardless of the sport or project type, they can frame it. So go check out Elite Icons. Go check out Windy City Sports Cards for all your fan memorabilia or just whatever it could be. Like, they're going to be the places that, you want to go and check out. You know what? Okay, here we go. And look, I can add, I have a super chat. That's freaking awesome. Let's show this, put it on screen. Braggs' trowel, 9.99. Any thoughts on North Carolina offensive lineman Willie Lampkin? Only 5'10, but could he play? Would be the would the Bears even draft a guy at that side? Look, I've seen him as a center, and look, I mean, he wins the leverage battle because he's just shorter than everybody, and he's held his own on some reps. I'm not gonna lie, but I would just think, okay, think about it this. Braggs is Charlie. Again, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everyone for being here, hanging out with me live. Um, think about the Detroit Lions offensive line. They are not small by any means. Those are large human beings. And when I think of how Ben Johnson wants to shape his future offensive line, knowing that he at least has to get 3 new interior offensive linemen, I would think he'd want more size at the position. And, and unfortunately for Lampkin, who just wasn't, gifted with that. I mean, he's still, working his ass off and fighting and battling through these reps, but he just doesn't have the size. I think Ben Johnson would utilize, and also whoever that future offensive line coach. I just don't think it would be like their vision of what could work for their offensive line. But I appreciate the super chat, and yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Not to say that they won't do something like that, but I just feel like they would want to go for a little bit more size there. Let's see. Let's keep going. Just going to keep scrolling through my notes here. Ty Robinson, I know I mentioned him, I believe, in yesterday's video. Nebraska defensive lineman, number 94. Nice rep. Showed some good hands on one of his one-on-one reps. David Walker, Central Arkansas, rips through. Have also a good rep and a win for him as a defensive lineman there. Let's see. Joshua Farner, Florida State. Beat Greg. Oh, okay. That's actually, I think, too, one of the guys that Gray Zabel mentioned. Let's see if I can find him real quick. From Florida State. There you are, Joshua Farmer. I believe that was also a guy that he did mention as somebody that stood out to him as he's going through the one-on-one drills. But he beat Gray Zabel on a one-on-one rep. And look, guys are going to lose. Guys are going to win. And I think it's how you respond is really the most important thing when you're kind of looking at how these guys are stacking practices, how they're learning from mistakes, and then becoming better from it. So I think, just seeing that Joshua was able to beat Gray, I would still say that Gray had a decent or a good day 2 practice after having a stellar day 1. Obviously the Senior Bowl is the main focus. I was able to, talk with some of the one of the players, the Delaware running back, and I'm blanking on his name, Yarns, I believe. I have the roster right here, so I can definitely tell you who that is. And he's actually impressed me. There's his route running ability, but that would be Marcus Yarns from Delaware. I got a chance to interview him really quickly on the field, but his pass catching ability stands out. And I don't know if this is a guy that's in play for the Bears. I don't know how they even view the running back position as it stands right now with DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson. Do they want to keep adding? Possibly. Obviously, we know where Ben Johnson comes from in Detroit and the running back duo that they had in David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. But could they possibly look to add another guy? And Marcus Yarns, not the biggest back, 5'11", 190, but shifty. Super, super shifty. Can make people move or can make some moves in space, good soft hands, crisp route runner. And I was asking him, I prefaced that I do cover the Bears and that Ben Johnson being the head coach had a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. Do you see any similarities in your game and his? And, essentially he said he does, and that running backs now in this day and age need to be able to provide that aspect as a pass catcher, especially with the running back position in general too. It's back. Saquon Barkley, I think, is really, obviously some other guys, Derrick Henry, of course, but he definitely saw some similarities. And I'm talking about Marcus Yarns and Jahmyr Gibbs and himself, but knowing that the running back position is becoming more prevalent again, I think made him optimistic about where he could potentially go and how he can contribute at the NFL level. Another guy that I got a chance to talk to in more of a scrum setting was Trevor Etienne. That would be the running back from Georgia. And, again, his pass catching ability and route running really stands out. There was a nice catch where he made an adjustment on a linebacker in the middle of the field, somewhat of a seam route, and the ball wasn't thrown perfectly, but able to adjust, pivot, catch the ball. I got a chance to ask him a couple of questions, and he was highlighting the same thing. Like as running backs, you just have to be able to do everything. And I completely agree with that. I think when you're a running back that can do more, when you have a play caller like Ben Johnson, that only creates more opportunities to get you the ball, and it can be in, not the most traditional ways. So I think for ETN, Yarns, guys like that, like showing what you're able to do in these one-on-ones against some of these linebackers, that's such a tough drill, to be completely honest, for any linebacker to cover in space on a running back. There's no time. The quarterback's not being rushed, but you're still getting the ball out fairly quickly. There's just a lot of space to work with. And if you're a good route runner, you should be able to create separation. But those are also guys that definitely stood out to me in terms of the running backs. And to be completely honest, guys, I haven't really paid too much attention to many of the skilled players. It's definitely not the group that was here last year. You had Ricky Pearsall, Lad McConkey, guys like that. And it's not that they're not skilled, capable guys here. It's just I'm looking also too in terms of the Bears' needs. Like they're in the trenches, and I'm, watching and literally following where Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles at. They're watching the offensive and defensive line as they're just going through these practices. And that was for the American team practice, national team practice, or watching the offensive and defensive line. So I think that's really important. And the Bears have had a history of drafting players from the Senior Bowl, with the latest one being Torrey Taylor, the Iowa punter who was there last year. So I think that's, again, you make note of it. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean they're going to draft guys from that position group. Potentially not, but it's just something to keep note of. Let's see. I have Dennis Moody here, and I can put you on screen. Dennis, what about Mike Green bulldozing Connolly? Yeah, that happened, and that was insane. It was so violent and quick and powerful, but that definitely happened. And I'm sure what Gray Zabel was saying, because I did ask him about the rep. Like when you see that, what's your reaction? He essentially said, paraphrasing here, is that puts everybody on notice that you can't really let up at any point. Like obviously, the kid from Oregon was playing some good football, or has played good football, in Josh Connerly. But Mike Green just made a name for himself right there, and you can't have a slip up. And when you do, you get put on your ass. As simple as that sounds, like that can happen. So, it was cool to hear like Gray Zabel kind of recognize that, but also he was backing up his guy. Like, it's going to happen to everybody. It's a reminder that when you go to the NFL level, guys are looking to embarrass you. And, you can learn from that type of, I'm not going to call it a mistake. It's just a rep. And how does, a guy like Connerly come back from that? That's like the big thing. And he was in the convention center where we had to go after practice, answering questions. I'm sure somebody asked him about that. So I think that he'll want to have a good third day, final day of practice tomorrow, to show that, hey, that's behind him and you can forget about it. Really quickly, this has nothing to do with the players, but Mike Kafka is the one of the head coaches, and being there. I did want to, I thought, was this a dumb question to ask in the first place? But I did want to ask him because he did interview on January 9th for the Bears head coaching position. And it was just a Zoom interview. And look, Kafka has ties to, being from Chicago, Andy Reid, he knows polls, things like that. But and I posted this on my Twitter if you want to check it out. Just like it's like 2 minutes, if that. But he did say that it was a very thorough interview, and that there are a lot of great people within the Bears organization. And I think he speaks more to about the process and, what stood out to him. So definitely go check that out at Nicholas Moreano on Twitter. But that's also echoing what Rick Smith from Priority Sports, Ben Johnson's agent, has said about like the process and how the Bears are doing things. It seems to be well respected, not only from agents, but a coaching candidate like Mike Kafka. So I think, if you're someone from the outside looking in who has viewed the Bears in maybe a negative light, maybe this is kind of dispelling some of that, or you still could be very skeptical. That's completely fine. But I think that just even hearing him, highlight what has really stood out, like that is also telling that maybe the Bears are doing things in the right way, and maybe in just different ways that they were doing previously. So I think that was also something positive to hear about the organization, what they're doing. Um, Really quickly, let's see, Dennis, which lineman impressed you and let you down? Oh, that's a good question. What let me down? I think it's been okay. Wyatt Millum, the West Virginia guy, and I know he's a versatile dude. Will play left guard, right guard. He's had some up and down reps, and again, I don't. It's not the end of the world to have that happen. I mean, you're going into this setting, and some guys handle it differently. But I think overall he's been better than worse, if that makes sense. But he was one of the guys I had circled coming into the Senior Bowl. I wanted to see if he just was going to have like a Gray Zabel type of performance, like where he's just lighting it up, making a name for himself. Potentially shooting up draft boards for some teams. But I don't know if that's quite been the effect. But just somebody to keep an eye on. Trying to think who else has been standing out. I'm looking at this would be the national team roster. I did mention Caleb Rogers, Texas Tech. He had some good reps. Let me look at the American roster real quick. Somebody that, and I'll give credit to Clay Harbor at CHSN. He was watching a lot of, what is it, Emory Jones, LSU. They have a bunch of LSU guys. I believe he was playing right tackle, if I'm not mistaken. But some of those LSU offensive linemen either have these incredible reps or they give up a sack fumble. And like obviously you don't want that. You want more of that consistency there. So I think you want to again see how guys stack practices and how they go into day number 3. What I do want to get into really quickly before I end this video here, I can't believe we're already reaching 30 minutes just talking to myself here. But no, you guys are hanging out with me. That's right. If you have any questions too, just throw them in the chat. Doesn't even have to be draft related, whatever. I'm down. I'm fair game. Let's go. Dennis Moody, Nick, you sexy beast. How you been? I've been good. Appreciate it, Dennis. You're awesome. Ian Rappaport, and this was just what at 6:14, so about a little over an hour ago. The Bears are hiring former Jaguars offensive coordinator Press Taylor as their passing game coordinator. Sources say a key hire for Ben Johnson and offensive coordinator Declan Doyle. Taylor adds experience and expertise in Chicago, plus another voice for Caleb Williams. That is true. And just looking at Press Taylor and what he's done, I mean, this guy started as a Tulsa graduate assistant and then went on to be an offensive quality control coach in Philadelphia. So we got a chance to overlap with Jalen Hurts, Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously Trevor Lawrence. So I would say more athletic quarterbacks. So you're adding another voice in there. But yeah, at this point, I just need to see what this coaching staff is finally going to look like. Because I mean, you're just seeing a bunch of one names popping up here, but you also don't even know who exactly has been let go. Like we know some guys, but there's still some guys that are up in the air. Like I don't know if I've heard anything about John Hoke yet. I think it's like as this process goes on, obviously you'll get more clarity on things like that. But just you want to see who that offensive line coach is going to be. And what was it, Brad Biggs earlier today? And let's see if I can find exactly who that was. But the Ohio State coach is who they were looking at, according to Brad Biggs, and make sure, I have that right as I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter to find that information real quick. And here we go. And of course, Brad tweets a lot. Maybe I can't find it. I know he tweeted it out earlier, but I guess, there we go. It's the top tweet that I just missed. Justin Fry for the O-line job today, and Brad Biggs' tweet. He's been in the college ranks since 2007 after a playing career at Indiana. Tulane O-line coach Dave Rochar also expected to interview for the job, and then Rochar had a 10-year run as a coach with the Saints. I would, who was it that told me about Dan Rochar from the Saints? I think it was Kevin Petrie, who is the wide receivers coach on is it the American team? He said if you guys, again, you guys, he's referring to Chicago, get a guy like Dan Rochar, you're going to see the offensive line take off. Essentially, is what he said. He was such a fundamental piece to that Saints offensive line for as long as he was there for the 10 years. So if you can land a guy like that, that would be huge for the Bears organization. So still up in the air of who the Bears will actually hire for that job, but it's a very important one and one that I think Ben Johnson needs to get right. I think I like the hires that he's already made, and I'm just hearing good things about guys like Dennis Allen, Declan Doyle, as I've been here in Mobile, but that offensive line coach is going to be huge. So that will be the next one. Also, one last, I guess, note here. But Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network, the assistant quarterbacks coach, David Blau, has a request from the Jets to interview for the quarterback coach job, as well as a request from the Bears for their passing game coordinator. Sources say Blau, 29, is garnering attention only 1 year into his coaching career. The Bears are just adding a lot of young guys on this staff. And for Ben Johnson, who is a young guy himself too, and being a first-time head coach, I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem that he has guys that he hasn't worked with on his staff. Like, I don't think that's a necessity by any means for a first-time head coach. Does it help in some ways, but is it a guarantee by any means? No, it's not. So I like that the Bears are interested in some of these younger guys. They get a fresh perspective on things. But then you also get a guy like Dennis Allen, who's been doing it for years. And I love that hire for the defense and what it can bring to that unit. And Richard Hightower, retaining him, I think, is also a big key addition there. But yeah, I think, Dennis, I appreciate all the comments here. I'll put it up on here. Has Ian been hired at Jacksonville yet? I mean, obviously not if he's, at the Senior Bowl and, hanging out with Ryan Poles and scouting players. Like, I don't know. I wonder if Ian is still in consideration there, considering that he is still with the Bears. He made it to Mobile. They're scouting, I would assume, for the Bears, looking at talent. And if he's not and goes to Jacksonville, he's going to know exactly everything that Ryan Poles and the Bears are planning on doing or who they like and things like that. And I'm sure he likes the same players that Ryan is going to like. And I wonder how that's going to work. So at this point, Ian Cunningham is with the Bears organization. I don't know, where the talks are, what the status is between him and Jacksonville Jaguars in their vacant position. But yeah, it's a fascinating question, and we'll see what will end up happening for Ian Cunningham there. He's been in the cycles and been in consideration for years now. Just hasn't obviously landed anything. But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, everybody. Appreciate every live viewer, people hanging out, leaving comments. Like this video, please share it too. Send it to a Bears fan. Let them know what I'm doing here at just on YouTube, and also my Substack at Nicholas Moreano. You can find me there as well to find some of the written content that I'll have, and Twitter is where I'll post everything. So if you follow me on Twitter, you're in a good spot. But appreciate everybody, and one more day of Senior Bowl practices are left. I'll be there to cover 9:30 in the morning to whenever it ends, and I'll be here to break it all down. But I appreciate everybody. Again, see that Windy City Sports Cards? Check them out for me. They are helping me be here. The best, what would help me even more is that if you go check them out, check out all the great products that they have. They're great people over there. Obviously have great products over there. So check them out, as well as Elite Icons. But that's going to do it. I am going to wrap up this stream. I need to eat. Starving. And probably head out on town and see what, who knows, what I can find. But appreciate everybody, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.